welcome back to the channel. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about Mick Jones of Foreigner, especially the song I just played the solo to, which was Blue Morning, Blue Day, from the Double Vision album. That album I had when I was 10 years old. It was like one of the first albums I got. It was that and Kiss Alive 2. I remember when I got that album, my brother got the Rolling Stones' Some Girls, and ELO Discovery was the year later, I believe. But yeah, he got Some Girls and I got Double Vision. Anyways, Double Vision is like a big album for me because I think it's like one of those premier rock and roll records that I could listen to. I think it's a perfect album. There isn't a bad song on it. I even love the songs Mick Jones sings. What the hell's the name of that song? Not You're All I Am. That's Lou Gramm. So it's the Back Where You Belong. I mean, it's just great stuff. I love his stuff. I like everything that they do. Let me show you the solo first, and then if there's anything on my mind, we'll get that out. So the song's in B minor. The main riff, I mean, you can pretty much look this up online and find it anywhere, but it's this. And it just repeats that. That's like the main line. And then in the verses, it's like... before the chorus, he'll go, instead of going, he'll go, to a G7. And I think it's mixed really low, and in the first chorus, he's just playing the chord here, the F sharp sus. Later in the song, by the second chorus, he's playing that in like a D7 shape, but up here. And all I can really hear is just like the... You know, like that. But it's that... Which I hear, and I've seen other bands do it, everyone just plays it still down here, but I hear it high. You know, what also, it reminds me a lot of... and I don't know why I hear it high, but that's the way I hear it. Just like we used to play Cold Shot by Stevie Ray Vaughan. And everyone always plays the E7 sharp 9 here. But I hear it as being up here. So, I don't know. But I play that up higher. So now the solo is just, I'm going to play it real slow. And if you can't follow this, you can message me, comment. I'll try to help you out, but I think it's pretty easy. So we're going to go... There's only one little part that may be tricky, but I don't know. So anyways, it's... that's the first, and then it's... so we got... which is just an F sharp minor arpeggio. Then you slide to the 14. So that's... One more time with that. Now this part becomes a little tricky because he's like... what is it? Yeah, so it's... So it's two fulls and then one half, so it's... let me see how... I'm going to play it slow. It's hard for me to think of it as that. So it's... And then the second one is once, and then once, and then... So this one is the tricky one where it goes... Sorry. So let's do both those. And then it just ends with this F sharp minor arpeggio. And he just goes. And that ends it. And that's the solo section to that song. On the outro at the end of this video, I'll play the part that he plays at the end, but I'll just show you what he does. So there's a whole thing where he's playing the... But I think he's playing it an octave higher. Only on the very last one. And he goes... And that ends the song. So, and I'll post that to the song at the end. But anyways, yeah, Mick Jones, Lou Gramm on that record. There's my favorite song on that record was probably, which I can do a thing on, is the groove in God, it's It's Lonely Children. Spellbinder on that record's great. And on the first album, I Need You, oh my God. You put that in the car and crank it, it's awesome. But anyway, I love the first three Foreigner albums. By Foreigner 4, I lost interest. I think they got rid of some guys in the band. They went down to 4 guys, and I thought there was something special. Actually, I think on Head Games they had a different bass player for some reason. I think it was Ed Gagliardi on the first 2 records, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, I love those first 2 records especially. I think Head Games is kind of, it's almost there. I mean, if the first 2 albums, if you want to call those 9.5s, I would say Head Games is an 8.5 or a solid 9. Getting close to a 9 as you can. Foreigner 4 to me ditches way down to, like, you know, there's a couple of great pop tracks on there, but not a great record in my opinion. I mean, some great songs on there, but nothing like there's a whole cohesive album, you know. And it's funny because today that's gone. You know, those days are like so far gone. I think the days of CDs, when CDs came into play, it's really became difficult because you had you added all these extra tracks, and it wasn't like a 10-song album. Now we're talking 12 to 14 with longer songs, and it's harder to get a cohesive record, which is why I think bands like Soundgarden with Bad Motorfinger and Down for the Upside, Super Unknown. I mean, those records are great cohesive records. You know, 12, 14 songs, whatever it is, and every song's great, and it sounds good, and it's like fun to listen to. But, and same with the other records that I mentioned, 24/7 Spies, 14 songs on Strength in Numbers. There's like 14 songs on Corrosion of Conformity's Blind album, but every song is great, and it like goes into the next. So, you know, there's like a lot of great records out there. But in the 70s and the early 80s, I think it might have been a little easier because you only got 10-song records. Some records had 9 songs. I mean, you listen to Rush, I think there were 7 on Moving Pictures, and maybe 7 on Permanent Waves. I think there was more on, maybe 9 on Signals. I mean, I'm just going off the top of my head. I'm not looking any of this stuff up. This is just what goes on in my head. But yeah, anyways, so the Foreigner's second album here, Double Vision with Hot Blooded, it's like a perfect record for me. You know what really, though, is odd to me? I don't know if you ever listened to it. It's in the song Double Vision. There's a shaker that comes in the middle of the second verse, and it's just weird, and it's throughout the whole rest of the song, but it's like really loud to me. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I listened to the record recently. Well, when I say recently, I mean within the last 5 to 6 years. And I heard it, and I was like, I don't remember hearing that as a kid. And now when I hear it on the radio, I can't stop hearing it. But it's right in the second verse. All of a sudden, it sounds like an egg shaker, and this guy's just holding it to the mic, waving that egg. I'm like, ease up, buddy. For some reason, that was Mick Jones thought that was the way to go. I don't know. Mick Jones, also an awesome producer. I mean, he produced 5150 for Van Halen, which is a great record. I mean, talk about coming out of the. I mean, I'm not as big a Van Hagar fan as I am a Van Halen fan. I'm a huge Van Halen first 6 albums fan, but there's no denying that Van Hagar became more of a pop, cohesive pop rock band, and was great for the time. I mean, they were a great band, and that's But getting back to Foreigner, I mean, Lou Graham's vocals on that record. There was Blue Morning, Blue Day, I think was a single on it. Hot Blooded, Double Vision. There was that instrumental Tramontane, which I thought was great. Lonely Children and Spellbinder, Back Where You Belong, You're All I Am. Oh, I mean, I think that's a record people should go back and look at and really give a strong listen to. I think it's a great record. The guitar tone, I mean, everything about that record. I even think the drumming, is it Dennis Elliott? I can't remember. I mean, I don't remember his name, but I think that's his name. But the drumming on the record's great too. I mean, they're just a great rock band. They put together a great rock band for those first 2 albums. Like I said, the third album's very good too. I mean, Dirty White Boy's a great song. There's some bad songs. Love on the Telephone was a weird song, and Women wasn't that great. They were good for the time, but when I go back and listen to the record, I'm like, well, a Rev on the Red Line. I mean, I remember going, yeah, this sounds like they're trying. Not like they hit it out of the park, but like they were taking heavy swings. I think Blinded by Science on that record's a great song. But overall, I think Head Games and Dirty White Boy are great songs. And I don't know what came out first, Dirty White Boy or 707's I Could Be Good For You. Well, on that first album, they had Cold as Ice, A Long Way From Home, Head Knocker there, Star Rider. I Need You was a really good one that I love. Fool For You Anyway. I mean, Foreigner's a great band. I think they're a great band. It's a lot of fun. We've been talking about adding this song to FM station's repertoire. We just haven't gotten to it yet. But overall, they were a good band. They had a good sound. I think, was there a guy that played sax in there too? Like, so how did they get 6 guys in there? I think there was a guy that played sax and he doubled on another instrument. Speaking of a band with sax, I mean, Supertramp's a great band, and I think I might go over some songs acoustically next week from Crisis What Crisis. I think that's a great record. Sister Moonshine and Easy Does It are 2 great songs to check out. If you're a Supertramp fan, I would definitely check out. It's actually Easy Does It, and then it goes into Sister Moonshine. Just great stuff. I mean, eventually I might even like to do some Yes stuff, maybe in You and I have a student right now, and I'm teaching him in You and I. Another great, I mean, Steve Howe. Now, here's a guy, it's funny, we talk about favorite guitar players, and everyone has favorites and whatnot. And to me, and this is going to sound crazy, like, I love the Yes album, Fragile. I'll get there. Close to the Edge. I think Relayer and Tales of Topographic Ocean, I think those are good. But as far as like from the album Close to the Edge and Fragile and the Yes album, those 3, I think are brilliant records. I also think Drama's a great album. The thing is, it's like with Steve Howe, he's a phenomenal guitar player. I love listening to Yes. As far as playing it, I find it not to be such, like, it doesn't make me want to pick up the guitar and play. And there's a lot of players that are like that about other guitar players. And Steve Howe to me was like, I never cared for his tone, except on Tempest Fugit. I love that tone on Tempest Fugit, but if that's how you pronounce it, yeah, off drama. But for the most part, I never cared for his tone. He just always had the most blah guitar tone, and his playing, it was like really difficult stuff, but it didn't make me want to pick up the guitar and imitate what he was doing. It didn't move me in that way, but I really respect him as a player, and I think he's probably one of the most underrated guitar players. Of course, besides now looking like the Crypt Keeper, I think I think Asia, even like if you get a chance, that first Asia album, his guitar playing, actually the whole band's work on the song Time Again. That song to me is like as good as any Yes song. It's fantastic. That is a great, there I said it again, fantastic. But that's a great, great song that I think is completely overlooked. It's that and Soul Survivor on that first album. But then he started doing the GTR stuff, and that got weird. Him and Steve Hackett from Genesis. I just thought that was weird stuff. It was like art rock, and it became like they're in suits with their ponytails. I was just like, yeah, guys, this is not going to happen. And it was just terrible. And of course, this was right around the time when hair bands was running rampant. And I'm one of the few guys back in that time that I knew of. Like, I was big growing up into like metal stuff. I used to come running home from school, and I would listen to and practice to the Judas Priest album Unleashed in the East. I would put that record on and play along with all the Glenn Tipton parts. And I would imagine myself like that was it. I was Glenn Tipton in my head. I loved that guitar tone. I loved those songs. And then I was really big into Black Sabbath with Dio, that Heaven and Hell album. I got big into Iron Maiden. And when the hair band started, I remember when Rat first came out, and I loved that song, Round and Round. And then I heard a couple of other songs, and I was like, it's good. I wasn't in love with it. But then as they grew and lay it down and everything, and I thought, well, that's a little Van Halen-ish. And the hair thing started really to get on me when Poison and these other bands came out. I mean, and I've got to know some of the guys from these bands, and working out in Los Angeles, and they're all great guys. I mean, really, sweetheart of guys, just like the nicest guys. But that music to me was so blasé, and I'm so not into it, that I loved. Like, I never was a huge Nirvana fan. I think, from a distance I would listen, and I think his songs, like, he had some decent songs. I didn't connect with it so much, but I was so welcoming it, because it to me was the end of hair bands, and I was like, yes, so happy. And then I found Soundgarden, and I found heavier stuff. And also at that time, I was getting out of metal a little bit. I was listening to a lot of The Cure and Depeche Mode, because I think they were just great songs, and there was some vibes there. But yeah, so I mean, I was very welcoming to get rid of, of course, to get rid of the hair band stuff. But of course, with that came the end of, which was to my benefit for a long time, became the end of the shredder pointy neck guitars, because Strats and Gibsons came back in vogue. And I remember a buddy of mine sold me a Kramer Beretta in 1990 for $300. And I was like, and I ended up buying, I think, 5 of them at that point. I bought 5, and that's all I would play was Berettas. They had the wider nut, which is wider. This Strat has a 1 5/8, but they had 1 3/4. And they all had the Floyd Rose, and I played Berettas forever. It was my favorite, and I could pick them up cheap, and it was great. And it wasn't until about 2004 that I got sick of the Floyd system, and I was like, I just gotta. It's easier for me, because we were using so many different tunings that it was just easier for me to get on stage with 3 guitars or 2 guitars, that I can alter the tuning from a dadgad to a, whatever, to a from dadgad to open D with 1 guitar, and drop C sharp with another guitar, than to have 5 guitars on stage, because you know, I needed all the different tunings, and with a Floyd Rose, you're not changing that tuning. So I would set them up to that tuning. So the days of waving Floyd Rose guitars goodbye are gone. And actually, the guy who I bought the Kramer Beretta from in 1990 bought it back off me for considerably a lot more, and it was still in great shape. It was my main guitar. Back in 2015, 2015, he bought the guitar off me because he's still back. He got back into those kind of guitars, and I've waved those bye-byes. I mainly play some things that's like Strats and Tellys. I had Gibsons. I had 58 reissues. I had two of them, one a Cloud 9, and I've had several Gibsons. I can't get into them. The tone of the humbuckers, whatever it is, I just stopped liking that sound. And so I don't really use them anymore, and that's, whatever. I'm going down the beaten path. But anyways, like I said, if you want to check out like some really great stuff, check out Foreigner's first two albums. Foreigner from 77 and Double Vision from 78. And I think Double Vision edges it out because I think Double Vision is like, which is strange because around that time, most people work on the first album so much, and then when they do the second album, it's like they're scrambling to find material. To me, the second album seems like it has a better flow, and the songs seem like the songwriting, they got tighter as a band songwriting wise. I even think I read somewhere that Mick Jones thought the same thing, that the second record was the better record for them. But yeah. Anyways, it's something to check out. And I hope that solo, if you were looking to learn that solo, I hope that helped you somewhat. I am going to jump in the shower. I was at a barbecue today. It's my friend Laurie's birthday tomorrow, so we were celebrating her birthday, and I smoked a cigar, and I can still smell it on me, so I am going to jump in the shower and get out of here. All right, have a great night, very good, and I'll see you next time.